to talk about the big snow that we've been getting, the big amount of snow that we've been getting here in Manitoba, as well as some conferences happening in Canada and some other things, is Harry Siemens on this week's edition of the Farm Report, brought to you by Wolf Enterprises. Harry Siemens joining the show here for the first time in 2022. Harry, how you doing? Happy New Year to you. Hope you had a great Christmas, great holiday, and I know that you got a new iPhone that you're pretty excited about, which is awesome. But how you doing on this Wednesday? Thanks.
You know what? Doing well. Not this last weekend, but the weekend before, right after Christmas, went with the entire family to a hotel in Winnipeg and did some swimming, and I was swimming with them. And then we came back in that snowfall, and I lost my power steering at Sperling, Manitoba. I had to drive another 35 miles home on Armstrong. If you know what Armstrong is, no power steering. And so that was good. Yeah, we'll start on the note with snow. I remember right after the Tuesday, my brother, who I mentioned before, my brother Jack, who at 84 still farms. He's farmed 70 years. And he phones me up in the morning and says, Harry, look at the snow. Did you see the snow out on the fields? Because that's the key. It's one thing to get snow and get it drifted up, but it's another thing for that snow to be piled on the fields already in January. And that's a good thing. Number one, it protects the soil erosion from the wind. If you got the fields covered with snow, that's a big thing, especially when you've got 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 inches. And I've seen snowmobiles, they've been driving all over the place. Yes, we've had some wind, and the wind has moved some of that snow around, but we still have a very basic solid layer, which is absolutely good news. As Ian Smith, a farmer from Argyle, told me, he says, Harry, that's my gold. And that's exactly it. Because number two, once spring comes and we start to see a runoff and melting, and the more snow we have, the better chance we have of filling up the dugouts and also soaking up the subsoil moisture and so forth. Because the fields, the subsoil moisture comes from all kinds of areas. And so the more water laying on fields, the more water in ditches, the more water in dugouts, all of that helps to fill up the subsoil. So that's a real positive as far as I'm concerned, that in January, we already have this kind of snow. We haven't seen that in probably 3-4 years.
Yeah, and you're right on that, Harry. I haven't seen this amount of snow myself in the last few years, just the way things have been going here. So it's crazy how much snow was falling yesterday, especially. I went out and shoveled, and then boom, didn't even matter that I shoveled because the snow took all my work away. So but it's great for farmers that they're able to get this amount of snow at this point in the year. So early on as well. But talking about, the way this pandemic has altered some things. I know you were talking about something, on texting me, how it permanently altered the consumer/restaurant relationship. A TD Bank survey found this out. So go more into depth about that.
First and foremost, I should say it's a survey of in the United States. It's not a Canadian survey, but I think we can just about probably carbon copy some of those results into what's happening. And I think really not a big surprise. The surprise to me is that how the restaurant industry in the United States is viewing this as a permanent thing. They feel that, they're investing in delivery and mobile ordering, because it's already paid off. And there were restaurant chains that did that right off the bat of the pandemic. The drive-thrus and all those kinds of things. We may look at restaurants and we see, well, they're not very busy. Well, no, that they're not sitting inside. They're picking it up and going home. And I think one of the things that I'd like to read, mobile ordering and delivery have become a part of everyday life and are no longer nice to have, but expected. And operators need to continue to enhance these offerings to keep up with competitors. And so 3 things that are happening out of that. Number one, mobile and delivery. And so restaurants are building bigger areas where people can pick up and deliver. And secondly, real estate, like if your restaurant is in the mall, very difficult to have pickup and delivery, at least not nearly as easy as if your restaurant is somewhere out in the open. So those are all kinds of things that are changing for the restaurant business. And 45% plan to provide additional drive-through locations. That means they're building new restaurants where people have access. And why am I talking about this on a farm show? Well, the whole aspect of food, farmers produce food, right?
Yeah.
And so that's why this is important. That doesn't mean that the food use will shift, but at the same time, it's a good thing to keep in mind, because as a farmer and as a farm journalist, I want to continue to see the food, the products that farmers grow, that they have proper access to the marketplace. Because why grow it if we can't get it to the marketplace? This, to me, is where restaurants are picking up the slack, and they're saying, you know what, we're going to do what consumers have taught us in the last 2 years because of the pandemic. But we're seeing this as something permanent. And so that's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah, and that's crazy that that survey came out, and what's going on there. Going to be interesting to see the effects of this moving forward as well. But diving into something else now, Harry, talking about the conferences happening. Of course, you were supposed to be going to one happening in Banff coming up, but due to health reasons, you're not going anymore. You're going to be attending it virtually. But not just that meeting in Banff is happening, but other conferences across Canada. Take us through the conferences that are going to be happening coming up shortly across Canada.
Well, the biggest thing going is for 35 years, St. Jean Farm Days was the first conference in all of Canada, and it either happened in the first week of January or the second week of January, but it was always the first one. I think if I think correctly, right now, Wednesday and Thursday would be St. Jean Farm Days. Well, for 2 years now, we haven't had St. Jean Farm Days. I spoke at the one 2 years ago, which was the 35th annual, and it was a great little. I call it the big little farm show, and so that one isn't going. The one in Banff, Alberta, I was initially going to attend that, but I've had to cancel because I just haven't got my energy back from my COVID stint. Right. But I can cover it by Zoom, and that's the other point here. All the farm meetings that are on right now, you can either go in person, and there's only very few. The one in Banff is still on, but we're not even sure if it's going to go. I mean, it's next week, so I don't think they're going to cancel. But in Manitoba, we have on January 25th, we have the Keystone Agricultural Producers, a farm organization. They're meeting in one room. You got to be vaccinated in order, but they're also providing Zoom coverage on that one as well. And then on the 16th and 17th of February, Crop Connect. That's at the Victoria Inn Convention Center in Winnipeg. And so far, that one is on. So I want to be able to attend that one, but I also have the option of staying in a hotel room and recording it and watching it from there and not have to be at all the meetings. So what I want to say is that in my case, when I first saw the Zoom meetings come out, to me, it was boring. To me, it was, oh man, and there weren't good uptakes on it either. I mean, only those people that absolutely had to be watching these Zoom meetings, they did. So they've had to make them more interesting. They've had to try and deal with the fact that maybe we can have some in person. But I have changed my attitude, because from my perspective, I can cover 2 meetings at once and I don't have to drive anywhere. I got 2 computers. I can record it. Just like I do this, I have a on-screen recorder, and it does an excellent job. and I can just sit there and watch it and pick what I want to use later. And so for me as a journalist, it's a good thing. And for those farmers, those participants that also use it that way, it's also a good thing. So the whole idea, so we talked about the changes in the restaurant business. I'm also talking about the changes in attending farm meetings. I mean, I used to drive from October to Christmas or 2 weeks before Christmas to meetings right across the province, and then take a Christmas break, and then January, St. Jean Farm Days, first week of January, off to the races. I mean, I would go right till the middle of April at farm meetings all over the place. Well, now there's only one or two happening. So things are changing, and companies and organizations and governments are working out different ways of how they can present their materials to the farmers that need to uptake it.
Yeah, and that's good to know that it offers that convenience, of course, like you were saying, for yourself, being able to watch two conferences at once, screen record them, and take what you want out of them. Great to hear that you're taking some positive out of this, Harry, which is great to hear.
Totally.
You know, talking about one last thing here on this week's edition, for the first time here in 2022 on Manitoba Show Rise and Shine on the Farm Report, what is Harry Seaman's farming tip of the week for farmers this week on Seaman Says?
My tip is exactly what I've just been talking about. Number one is the fact that I encourage farmers to set up recording, set up their computers, do whatever they can to take in the conferences, because the conferences are going to happen, and they're bringing in speakers, they're bringing in stuff. And so my advice is, make sure that those conferences that you would have attended before, if you can't see them in person, get on that TV or that Zoom, whatever it is, and watch whatever you can. Participate, because so many of them you can participate, ask questions, and do the kinds of things. But a lot of people are a little shy on some of these things. So that's my tip. Get out to the meetings if you can. If you can't, Zoom in.
Well, there you have it. For the first time in 2022, Harry Seaman's farming tip of the week for farmers on Seaman Says. And for the first time in 2022, this concludes the farm report for the first time in this new year. Harry will be doing it again next week, no doubt about it. So until then, you take care, and we'll see you next Wednesday.
Yeah. Happy New Year.
Thanks, Harry. You too. And Harry Seaman's the man on the farm report, giving us some good insight on some things happening right now in agriculture. Of course, Harry will be continuing to update us on those things, like the conferences happening that will be happening across Canada, and as other stories, start to happen throughout this year in 2022. Well, the Farm Report is the place to hear about them and watch Harry talk about it and do his thing. So, yeah, excited to start this show off with a bang with Harry Siemens on the Farm Report, brought to you by Wolf Enterprises.